Hello everyone, this is Princess here, and for today's video we're going to talk about the next Intertwined will coming up, which is going to feature Paine. And as you can see, it does feature a new force and a burst just for her. So let's get started. So her force weapon is called Paine's Dark Knight Sword. Yeah, that's literally what it's called. And this grants her the force time Dark Shroud, and her force partner is Dark Knight Cecil. It's a guaranteed 6-hit AoE Brave split HP attack that is dealt 4 times. It cleanses all debuffs and it dispels enemy buffs, and it will also inflict status break on all enemies for 5 turns. So for the bonus, we just zoom in a little closer. So you get 20% when you attack an enemy afflicted with status break, 30% when anyone has a buff or an effect at least at level 0. This is once per turn, and the triggers and launches are excluded for these. And then 30% when the party buffs or enemy buffs is at least 10. Party buffs, enemy debuffs are at least 10, but it is once per turn. So Paine's burst weapon is called the Throttle Wing, and this will grant her the finishing burst Gull Wing Rush. So it's a 10-hit AoE Brave split HP attack that is dealt twice. Her burst effect is 8 turns, and depending on where she is in the party, she will trigger different kinds of effects. But as for like the burst effect itself, so it raises the party's Brave damage cap and their max Brave cap. It also lowers all enemies' Brave damage resist by 50%, and then HP damage resist by 20%. So both are additive effects, and then when you get her burst to 2 out of 3, it adds an HP poison that is based on Paine's attack, but keep in mind it doesn't KO, and the percentage does depend on the characters to the left. Another thing about Paine is that depending on her position in the party, she will inflict different kinds of effects. So if she's on the left, she will inflict Mute Wing to all targets for 1 turn, which is just like an HP silence, and then if you re-inflict it, it extends the duration. And if Paine is on the right, so she will have this buff called Pumice Feather. So when using any attack skill while not on turn that is granted from Pumice Feather, party grants the targets that met the condition 1 level of Pumice Feather. And when it reaches 3 levels, it is instant turn rate and consumes 3 levels, and skill uses is based on the levels. And then when Paine is in the middle, she can do both, which is inflict Mute Wing and Pumice Feather. And then over here is just the buffs itself. So here's Pumice Feather right over here. And then over here is Mute Wing on the bottom. Pretty much just like what I mentioned earlier. So for the boss, you're going to be fighting the zoo bosses. There's going to be 2 of them, and they're kind of annoying this time around. They do have, like, usual attacks that we've seen before, but they are a little more aggressive this time around. So for starters, so here's like some of the attacks that they can use, and then here's just like more of what you can see here on the bottom. So some of the things you would watch out for: they can reduce their HP to 30% of the current HP, but it doesn't ignore HP reduction or null effects, and then they recover their own HP by 20%. And then when the battle starts and when they are below 50%, they will start granting themselves a lot of buffs. So right where it says feeling of intimidation, they're going to boost up their attack, speed, brave damage, turn rate, defense, HP damage up, all of that. But then at the same time, when they're less than 90%, and then at 20%, they do inflict debuffs on themselves. So when they have buffs and then the party has debuffs, they will use Sense of Intimidation has reached its peak, which is a guaranteed hit. And at the same time, they can also inflict a lot of debuffs on you. So they can lower your attack, your speed, your defense. So the big thing you want to do for this fight is make sure you have Dispel and Esuna handy. So calls that Dispel would be like Ferris, Beatrix, Cloud. And then for Esuna, you have Theodore, you have Pinello, or Yuna. So any one of those calls is really going to help you for this fight, assuming you're not going for Paine. If you do have her, then this is going to be a cakewalk with her. Okay, so now for the boss's force gauge. So the enemy gauge always increases by 4% whenever the player acts. It's going to be like that for the rest of the fight. 1 out of 5, they raise their defense by 30%. And then 2 out of 5, they raise their attack. 3 out of 5, they raise their speed. And then 4 out of 5, they're going to raise HP damage resist to non-force attacks. So unless you're in force time, you're going to deal damage. If not, then you're just going to be hitting zeros. And then when their force gauge is full, they will use Dust Storm +++. It's a guaranteed attack that will grant themselves buffs. Their force time is 10 turns. And so during their force time, they reduce any brave HP damage other than a force scale by 100% while a buff is active or the party is afflicted with a debuff. and they will also trigger Dust Storm Plus after own turn. Now to cancel it, it's kind of wordy here for this one, but basically dispel debuffs and then using a melee force on an enemy without buffs, or you can just dispel debuffs and enemy buffs and using a melee force. So it's kind of specific and makes it like you need Paine for this, but yeah, I would say just like if you don't have Paine, then just kind of do what I mentioned before where you have like Dispel or Asuna Calls. So yeah, that is pretty much going to be it for this video. I can't really show off Paine's Force or Burst in JP because I don't have it, so I'm just going to end the video right here. So thank you guys very much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know if you are pulling for Paine, and I will see you all next time.